Hey there, my friend. I didn't see you there. I figured today was as good a day as any to take a look at one of the most classic, iconic, and also most versatile and forgiving film stocks of all time, Kodak Tri-X 400. And I'm not taking this lightly. See, for a long time, I've been ride or die with Ilford HP5, usually running the Matte Day Special, pushing it 2 stops. But lately, I thought it might be fun to dabble with the grandpa of film, Kodak Tri-X 400, a film stock so legendary I'm half expecting it to start telling me war stories from the great photography wars of the 1960s. Introduced around 1940 in sheets rated at ASA Daylight 200 and Tungsten 160, it was one of Kodak's first high-speed black and white films. Lucky for us, Kodak then released Tri-X in 35mm and 120 formats in 1954, which is what I'm going to be shooting. Putting it through its paces in order to try to answer what it is about Tri-X that makes it look so iconic. Of course, to do this, I'm going to need some pretty iconic things to take pictures of, and so I grabbed my Nikon FE2, a handful of Tri-X 400, and I bought myself a plane ticket to Winnipeg, as rumor has it, if you can stand the blistering heat of the summer and the ball-chilling cold of the winter, the Exchange District downtown has some of the snazziest architecture around. Once there, I figured I'd warm up my shutter finger with a little easy shooting in the slightly less populated south part of the city, in order to capture some shots of the bridge. First, a high contrast shot of the white bridge against the blue sky, or black sky in this case, as we're shooting black and white film. Then, another shot, this time of the bridge against the water. And what's cool here is that even though we're shooting on 35mm film, even if you zoom way in, Tri-X still picks up almost an unbelievable amount of detail, to which I say, well done, old friend. Well done. It's this next shot though that's one of my favorites, from both a composition and contrast point of view. Sure, I could have used my go-to HP5 here and pushed it a couple of stops to boost the contrast even more, but I don't know, I kinda like this one just the way it is. And that's part of what makes Tri-X so special. Good grain, amazing sharpness, even on 35mm, and able to offer up a high contrast photo while still giving details in the highlights and shadows. I mean, what else could you ask for from a black and white film stock? Across the bridge lies the St. Boniface Cathedral, which gave me another opportunity to really test Tri-X and push it to the limits, as thanks to my complete lack of prior planning, I would need to be shooting pretty much directly into the mid-morning sun. But somehow, Tri-X still delivered. Shutter finger sufficiently warmed up, it was time to gear up and head downtown to take advantage of all the old buildings concentrated over just a few blocks. Which meant more photos and less walking. So, while we walkie, let's talkie about some of what makes Tri-X so amazing, especially if you're after that old iconic look, and doubly especially if you're after that old iconic look while shooting old iconic architecture. Firstly, Kodak Tri-X 400 is practically the Gandalf of film stock. It's wise, it's ancient, and it knows how to bring out magic in the everyday. This film has seen more years than most buildings, so it knows how to treat them right in a photo.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead. That's sweet.
Now, let's talk about the grain. Oh, the grain. It's like sprinkling fairy dust on your photos. It adds texture and a depth that digital just can't replicate. And this grainy charm is the secret spice when shooting old architecture. It's like adding an extra layer of history right into your photos. Old buildings love it so much they practically pose for the camera. Oh yeah, that's the shot.
I wonder if I could get anything out of this.
Then there's contrast. Tri-X laughs in the face of contrast. High contrast environments with sharp shadows and highlights, they're this film's playground. When you're shooting architectural details, the play of light and shadow, the depth, the perspective, Tri-X's wide latitude becomes your best friend. It's like having an inbuilt Photoshop for your shadows and highlights. Right there, right inside the film stock. What's more, how about the tonal range? This film can capture a vast tonality, from the darkest blacks to the brightest whites. It makes old bricks, aged wood, and rusty iron pop with character. It's like your photos are telling stories, whispering secrets of the years gone by. And let's not forget its excellent resolving power and sharpness. Every brick, every crack, every tiny detail in the old architecture is faithfully and distinctly recorded. It's like having an architectural historian hiding there in your camera. And how about for low light conditions? No worries, it's got your back. Tri-X works with pretty much everything and loves candlelit cathedrals to dark shadowy alleys as much as sunlit facades. And it pulls details out of the shadows like a magician pulls rabbits out of hats. I always wondered what they'd do with all those rabbits. It's kind of like stepping into a time machine with your camera, and the result's timelessly beautiful. Anyway, after having fully soaked in the downtown core and all of its sights, smells, and sounds, I was feeling a little burned out and burned up, as it felt like it was 100 degrees that day and the concrete jungle wasn't going easy on me. So I figured now was as good a time as any to head to my absolute favorite ice cream place on the entire planet. Not only to fill my lactose intolerant stomach with dairy in order to make the plane ride home a little bit more exciting, but also to snap up a few more nostalgic pictures from my childhood. First though, a quick stop at the University of Manitoba to capture even more of that old school Tri-X charm. And as much as I wanted ice cream, I'm glad we made the stop, as again, there's just something so timeless about this film stock that you really can't tell if these photos were taken by me only a few days ago, or back in 1877 when the university was first founded. Which, fun photo fact of the day, would have actually been possible, given that the first photograph ever recorded was taken in 1826 or 1827, and the first photo with people was shot in 1838. Anyway, enough history. The time had come to poison myself with deliciousness, and so I was off to the Bridge Drive-In, or BDI as it's more commonly known. A well-known and well-loved establishment central to Winnipeg's culture that opened way back in 1957. At least, according to this sign. And speaking of signs, if you've made it this far, then that's a good sign that you're also going to enjoy this film photography video that I've got linked up right here. So make sure to tap or click that now, and I'll see you in there in just a second.